Alrighty, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Brandy Keeler. I'm the Assistant Director of College for Creative Studies. And this session is Ask an Automotive Designer. We have an amazing guest, an alum for you all to learn from today. So I'm going to read his bio really quickly and get us started. So today we will be speaking with Earl Lucas, who is a Chief Designer for Lincoln Motor Company and is responsible for the recently designed Nautilus concept. His resume includes the luxurious 2016 Navigator, the expressive 2013 and 2010 Ford Taurus, in which Lucas led the exterior redesign of Ford's flagship sedan, and redefining the Taurus with a new sculpted, stylish, and more powerful model. Prior to this, Lucas played a key role as the interior design manager on the award-winning 2009 Ford Flex. He has also worked on numerous programs ranging from the 2003 Ford F-150, the 2007 Ford Edge, and Lincoln MKX. Lucas began his career at Ford Motor Company in 1999 as a senior designer for the Ford Expedition and later on the Lincoln Navigator. He holds his Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from the College for Creative Studies here in the Motor City, Detroit, Michigan, with his concentration in transportation design. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to you, Earl. Thank you for being with us today.
Oh, Brandy, thank you so much for having me. I know when I was listening to that, and you were going through all those programs that I worked on, it's just the memories in my life, those programs. You know, you get to find a lot as a designer just by the opportunities that you have. And I've been very blessed with that. So, but I would love to, if I could just share my screen to get into this a little bit more. Maybe a more, I thought that was a great introduction, by the way. And it really gets me to a point where I think I can help or talk to the students is not just experience at CCS, but then also what they can look forward to as they move to the professional ranks. So I will just go through this and really, I think the biggest conversation that I think that I can offer and share with potential students or students that are in school is understanding these two big words. All right, you will be dealing with these words your entire career. One, of course, is design, and the other is brand. Now, when I use that word design, it's really a reference to anything done with intent. So as you plan your careers, as you know, the things that are around you, you're empowered to control this thing around you. You're empowered to understand this thing about design. So anything that you do with intent is really design. That other word, of course, is brand. And really something that I didn't understand when I was at CCS, and even something that I'm working on as a 22-year veteran at Ford, is understanding the brand and how important it is. And really what it means is what you stand for. You know, how you talk, how you interface with people, you know, not just your artistic abilities, but really understanding the power of your own brand and how that works within the corporation. Something that I think the students need to be cognizant of. So I'm not gonna, I thought you did a fantastic job, Brand, explaining about who I am and all that thing. So I don't have to get into that, but I think I will get into something that I hope all the students will do. And that's writing their narrative, writing their stories, as well as curating the artwork and the drawings. I take a lot of pride in not just creating my story and my artwork, but it's also creating logos and creating metaphors. Like I think of myself as being this metaphor. I call it the elephant that comes from my initials, EL. But really what it does, it attaches qualities and characteristics of my brand that I want to expand upon or want to show as I interface with people. And I'll just give you a couple of these and then we'll move on. But this metaphor, the elephant, is important to me because the elephant is wise, right? It builds long-term relationships, and elephants aren't slow, they're graceful creatures and they're majestic. And elephants are measured, you know, and they know the impact of their movements. And I'm saying all this and it sounds a little strange even when I say it to myself, but really this idea of understanding the power of your brand and understanding how to use metaphor to come up with traits and tenets that define who you are as a person. I think the more you understand who you are as a person, your transition to any organization would be beneficial. I'll get into a little bit of this, and then I'll just show maybe some of the sketches. But as a designer, especially in the role that I have now in my design career, it's all about me being with these three tenets, and something that I try to, these qualities that I try to have every time I interface with people. And one of those words is being radiant. As a designer, you have to be radiant because you have the responsibility of interfacing with people, consistently. And to me, to be radiant means I have to send out light. There needs to be positive energy from me to the next person, so that that's just something that's a core tenet of who I am. And then as a designer, I've always been empathetic. There's empathy. So when I approach a design assignment, or I'm interfacing with people, I can understand others. And I think understanding others, knowing how, who I am as a person, gives me, I think, an advantage sometimes, or an opportunity to come up with solutions that will be impactful. And then the last tenet that I have, and actually part of the reason why I wanted to share with the school today, is that it has to be this sense of community. Uh, I don't think that we can go through this life and just think it's all about ourselves. There needs to be a sense of community, and that you can be greater than self. You can have a greater influence. You can design beyond just self. And that tenet of community is important to me. Okay. I won't get into all these. These are just actual projects that I try to explore those particular tenets. So, I've like I said, I've been very fortunate in my career, from now being the chief designer responsible for exterior design at Lincoln. Uh, but the same qualities that it takes in terms of learning how to illustrate your ideas, and this talking about brand that I was doing, designers have to do more than just be able to sketch. It's something to be able to design with words and design with, representing the company, and getting an opportunity to take the design studio, if you will, on the road. And like I said, I've been very fortunate with that. There's been a lot of success in terms of working on tours and working on products that have significant nameplate recognition. But then again, having designed this persona, or this brand in the company, recognizing that brand and using that brand for the greater good. I just will bring up some of the experience that I had. I've been very fortunate in terms of working overseas. I spent 3 years living in the UK, and then also some of that time working in Germany. And I like to show these sketches because I think, well, they were sketches that I did while I was in Europe. But the one thing that I've been very fortunate with, and Ford Motor Company offers a lot of, is that you have a diversity in terms of the types of product, the number of products that you can get a chance to work on. So working on the Focus, working on product. This was believe it or not, a little wagon or van that we were doing based off of Fiesta. And I put these in here not just to show, the skill set or the ability that we have, but it's that range of the scope of what a designer has to work on. And it's a different task to design a Focus versus designing, a product like this one. Just more illustrations to kind of show the idea. I think that whole idea of, working on your craft and your illustration is something that I take very seriously, but something that I think even to this day, I'm always trying to improve those skill sets. And that's something that I think young students or people transitioning from high school to CCS need to forever be in that mode of growth, that mode of wanting to be better, and learning, even with the great competition that you'll have to deal with while you're working in the professional ranks. But that doesn't mean anything if you're always on a quest to get better. If you're always working on your brand, to always improve. These were some of the illustrations that were done off the Navigator concept car, and this was done, oh man, a little while back now. But really one of the highlights of my career, getting a chance to work on a significant nameplate like Navigator, and then reimagining it with this new ethos that we have for the Lincoln brand, all about quiet flight. where now we've embodied these tenets. And now if you looked at the Lincoln portfolio in a while, we've made a lot of improvements, and something that trust me, I'm really, really proud of that, because to take a brand like Lincoln, so historic, and then to bring it more energy is just one of the rewards of my career. And this is just an image of the production car. So I think I'll just leave it there, Brandy. I think anytime, I would love it if I could get a chance to just take questions or ask me things about the whole design process and the professional career. It's just to me, understanding those words about brand and design will aid and help you as you go forward. So I'll stop sharing, and we'll take it from there.
Thank you so much, Earl, for those insights. I was actually taking notes myself because I really like that idea of how you simplified these really big concepts. Design is such a big concept. Branding, that's what I do in my profession. It's such a huge concept for people. And I think the way you've distilled that down is something that's really digestible. Design is anything you do with intent. We can design not just, the products or art that we create, but we can also design our lives. We can design anything with intent, right? I think that's a strong definition for design. And also branding is what you stand for. It's exactly what it is. So I really enjoyed that and learning about your journey. But yeah, I know we have someone here on the call. Did you have any questions that you wanted to ask about Earl's journey or transportation design, whether it's from a student perspective or instructor perspective? And Randy, I know you're muted.
As soon as I spoke, I knew I was muted. Sorry about that. So Earl, did you major in transportation design?
Yeah. So I grew up in Texas, and I grew up in Dallas, and I grew up to parents who always wanted more for me than they ever had for themselves. But I was always one of these students, these kids growing up that was a tinkerer. My mom was, worked for EDS, and my dad, was owned his own little construction company. So I was always one of these kids that had, time to kind of think and tinker on things. So I left Texas. I left that heat to come to Detroit. I didn't have any family in Detroit to pursue my career in automotive design. But Randy, to be honest with you, when I first came to CCS, I was a jewelry maker. I came there for jewelry. In crafts, believe it or not, and because I didn't recognize at the time that the same principles that you use to design an earring or jewelry are the same principles you use when design a car. It's really the same kind of the same tenets, the same kind of things that you do when you design an earring, the same thing on the car. So yeah, so I switched to transportation design, and then and followed my career from there.
So how early in your 4 years at CCS did you switch?
So I did 2 years in crafts. And actually, I look back on it, and it was probably some of the best training I had in terms of just letting my artistic natural expressions grow, and not to get so caught up on cars. I mean, that's a whole nother thing that, transportation students know what I'm talking about. You get caught up with just cars, and you forget that there's other things out there to learn from, and then you can apply it to your cars. In fact, Brendan, I tell you what, I can, maybe I should, and I'm being stingy, but I have another presentation with just more examples of sketches and ideas that I can share, and we can do that. But I like the questions from Randy.
I'm having been there, I graduated in '88, so I'm kind of amazed at the shift from craft to transportation design after 2 years. I mean, I know how it was. So that's awesome. I mean, really, in a way, it probably freed you up a little bit, because when I was there anyway, there were so many people from Detroit, and they were like total car nuts, and so they were beholden to what had already happened, and you probably were able to come in with something fresh.
Well, I think to be honest with you, so Randy, to be fair, you cannot walk on that campus and not see the automotive students and what they go through, right? I think all of us know that. But I think the one thing that was good about coming from a crafts perspective is that I didn't approach the things the same way that they approach them, right?
Right.
I think when I was given the opportunity to work in 3D, well, that was a natural thing for me, to build things out of metal, to build things out of, when they gave me hard foam to work with, that was easy compared to shaping something out of metal. So I loved it. But I think the love of drawing was fundamental to me. And when I was in crafts, it was more about the final three-dimensional piece versus the artwork that led to it. And transportation gave me that chance to do that, where I could finally, I could sketch it, right, and and let those other creative and things come out as well.
The people in transportation design can draw.
Well, you stand up all night, and
I
you
know.
spend it all
Well,
night. You should get
I was
better.
illustration, and we could draw, but not like transportation design.
I don't know, Randy. I know some illustrators that they can do whatever they need to do when it comes to being able
but
to illustrate. Yeah.
there was no doubt on campus who was running the roost there.
Well, we say that, but I don't know if that's true, because I think all of us, I think that actually, believe it or not, if the transportation students would just pause and take a breath and really go and see the other disciplines. I remember taking time to go see, I think it was the Sabrina Nelson. She'll give me a hard time for saying her name there. But I remember spending time with her and watching her paint and understanding the perspective of, a fine artist. And then making me go back and analyze, what am I trying to do, right, with my art, right? And I do think that sometimes there can be a divide between art and design, and the student that can bridge that gap and make it more about all of the totality of that artistic expression will benefit from it, and they will approach things differently and not see the world just with speed forms, right? Because it's more than speed forms. It just is.
Yeah. Silos don't help anybody, right? So learning in silos is not a good thing.
Yes, I agree. Yes, sir.
Earl, the comment that you just made reminded me of something that I've been learning a little bit more about what's happening in industrial design generally at CCS, both product design and transportation design. There's this huge move for students to learn not just the technical aspects, but to also become storytellers. I'm thinking about the narrative and perspective, not like visual perspective, but the narrative and stance that the objects they're creating has. Could you speak a little more to what the role of storytelling is in automotive or transportation design?
I have to admit that I guess I can say older I get, the more important narrative and storytelling, making that narrative, it becomes everything, right? It's one thing to design these shapes and products, but not to understand how they fit within a story. You're missing a very, very big part of it. These products affect people's lives. And if you can come up with narratives that actually, let's say you're going to come up with a story about how the customer is going to use that product in their day-to-day, you get a better sense of what you're designing for and who. It is a big deal. It's not a little thing. That it is an important thing to be able to see the world through those stories and understand things through stories, because really that's that's the purpose of why you create these products in the first place, that they will become part of people's narratives in their lives. And I think it's just a greater connection, Brent. It's a fantastic thing that you say. And I know that it's, as a student at CCS, you can get so caught up in the next class and the next shape, but really that narrative is the purpose of why you do what you do. So that's a fantastic question, and it's something really that students should pay attention to.
I'm a question person. I have tons of questions. I know, Randy, you probably have some too, but as we're guiding students into CCS and during their time at CCS, we find that students have different paths. Like you just explained, you came in for jewelry and found that transportation design was your home. Do you have any sense for sort of what traits or ways of being young students may have that lends itself well to becoming a transportation designer?
Okay, well, I'll tell you what they told me. Well, you got to have gasoline in your blood, and I don't know if that's well. it helps. It helps, to love cars, to see rolling sculpture. I mean, if you can see a car as just that, as sculpture, that just happens to move, I think that will aid you. The transportation as a career, if you think about it, you're going to be sketching, these rolling objects. But right now, to be a designer in transportation design, with the new definition of a car ever evolving and changing, as technology is moving forward, man, it is the best time, because a lot of the shapes, you get into, and I'll try to say it this way without talking too technical on the jargon. A 2-box or 1-box or a 3-box, a side view, right, which really means you're drawing a van, you're drawing a sedan, or you're drawing an SUV. Well, those definitions of a car are kind of defined today. You can walk outside and you can see a ton of SUVs or sedans. But now, as a transportation student with automation and electrification, that shape is changing. It is a fantastic time to be a car designer. So I think that being a transportation student now, and being open to new things, and knowing that that a car is the very definition of a car is changing, man, what a fantastic time to be a car designer right now, right? You're not stuck in these old paradigms. You guys get a chance to create these new things that the world is waiting for. Autonomy. Oh my God, what is an autonomous car? I mean, you guys get a chance. You're going to get a chance in your careers to define what an autonomous car is, which is fantastic.
That makes me excited. I know I'm not a transportation designer, but I'm like, ooh.
You got to bring out your markers. Start learning Photoshop. Oh, it's great.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I don't know, Brent. I was trying to be careful not to just bring up a whole bunch of car sketches. I know that could be typical. And then I have to be honest. I have to be fair. When you gave me this opportunity to talk to the students, I was mindful, as being a student. When a guy came in talking about car design, the first thing I wanted to do is see if he could sketch. Right, I wanted to see the ability that he had, and if he couldn't sketch, well, I don't know if I should be paying attention to him. But that was me back then. Hopefully the transportation students are better evolved and not so self-centered than like I was back then. But if I could, I'll bring up a couple sketches and just talk to them. Right, let's see if I can find it here. I found it. And actually, some of these are some of the ones I showed just a minute ago, but I'll show a couple more. And Brandon, please stop. Don't let me just talk about just sketch it all day. Okay?
I feel like the students who come to look at content like this want to see the cars, in addition to the theory and career path, they're definitely interested in the vehicles themselves. So I think that'd be excellent.
Okay. All right. So let's just bring a couple up. So, I think I'm just thinking about programs and projects that I've worked on. This was a couple of sketches that I did for a Lincoln sedan in actually working in London, and we were proposing different shapes. And I think this is really when we started to define the DNA that we're using now. And really, I think for me, making things, I used to be so loose. I remember when I was a student, I was so loose and trying to figure things out. But now I've gotten to a space where, I want to define what it is. And what's always interesting to me, the same kind of techniques, the same type of abilities that you can have on a paper, but you can create a different guy, a different persona. The personality of this sketch is a lot different than the personality of, let's say, this sketch, right? And that's always, and still to this day, that is so fascinating to me, that you can kind of create these personas, and you can create, like you said, you can create these stories just with the shapes and forms that you apply. Just a couple more examples. I look at these, and these are really old. I'm like, okay, maybe I need to go back and show the students I still can do some of the new stuff too. But then again, we talked about storytelling. So another trait, that's something that I always try to do, is draw a person or put a a customer next to that car. And it's amazing that simply when you put a sketch, you get a scale of a person, what tells you, first of all, the size of the car, but then it also, it gives you why she's standing like that to the car. All of a sudden you get a narrative, you get a story, and the artwork just becomes that much more compelling, just because when you add a person. I remember learning and working on that perspective. Oh my God, just trying to get to a point where I can draw my shapes convincingly. And then, learning how to draw different colors. I remember that used to be a big deal to me. Oh, can I do a yellow car? Can I do a red car? Can I do a black car? And now I look back at that. That was really, I was missing the point. I think the point is to make sure that you do a car that communicates the project, if you will. It's more sketches. I guess, the one thing I would say about sketching cars, it's amazing to me that when I would do a sketch, one like this, that I thought it was good at the moment, but now when I go back to it a couple of days later, well, you know what, I could have tried that, and then now the ideation and the evolution of a car, it never stops, and you can always make a shape better. Right. And then again, now when you put, the one sketch can be powerful by itself, but then when you put it with a person and you put it next to, 2 or 3 other sketches, and now you have mood board images, and you can see that now the drawing now becomes really, the cars almost become secondary to really what we're trying to say. And this is Brandon, part of that the book that I told you about that actually now is at the school. But this concept and this persona that we created called Diva, and now we're creating shapes and products that this in charge female would buy. So I just think that it's just fun how, when you start adding other elements to your sketches, and they just get more and more deeper and deeper, if you will. Look, I think I showed that one before. Okay, so I think this time in this one, let's see if I have it in here. I'm going to escape it for a second. I wonder if, I thought I had the actual animation that we did. I don't know if I do. All right, so I'll show those navigator things again, and I think it'll play. So like I said, this was really a big deal. So one of the opportunities, we talked about it before, that Navigator was a product that I worked on. And this was the unveil of the show car in New York. And one of the highlights of my career, man, a really, really a fun time. It's one thing to see the clay develop, is another thing to see the concept car getting developed, but it's another thing entirely to go to an automotive show and see your stuff on display that you've worked on. Now, I should say this too, most designers, there are no hero designers where one guy comes and does it all. But I think when you're given an opportunity to be part of a team, and you know that you're going to get a chance to unveil it, it is another highlight. It just goes to another level. So I'll get to it. I want to show the unveil of this Navigator. Like I said, in New York, at a private event. This was like before the actual auto show. We had this one special place set up where media came in. They set up media to come in. And it's that thing that you've been working on for the last 23 weeks now is driving, it's rolling up. There's no feeling like it. Now, this is an old car. This one's been out for a very long time. I think in 2018, I think it was. Nothing like it, bro. Brandon, I'm looking at this. It never gets old. I can look at this thing a long time, and then of course to see the gold wing door, very, very special. And then of course, the president of the company gets an opportunity to stand there and talk about it. That was really, I'll stop sharing that for a second there. Yeah, that was really a big moment for me to see that. But you know, I've been blessed to see that multiple times, and it never gets old. It's still fun, and I still look forward to going to the auto shows. I do.
That was amazing. That was amazing. It's funny, as you were talking earlier about, vehicles being moving sculptures. I feel like a experience like that really puts that on display. The way the lighting, contours, the shapes, it feels like it's a celebration of the shape and form language of the vehicle.
You know, so I'm okay. So to be honest, so I'm sitting with media. You know, the company has me sitting with media, and we're trying to, we're waiting for the big unveil, and of course you're nervous. The only thing I was thinking, no matter what I was saying at the table, I just let that door open smooth. Just let that gold wing door open smooth, and it did. And it's moments like that that make the late nights that you're doing at CCS, the late nights that you do at work, you will do them again. And you'll be eager to do them again once you get just a taste of that kind of experience. And it never gets old. And you see people, and especially if if you're very fortunate to have people recognize the product and love it, right? And a lot of times, Brenda, I would sit in the back, I just kind of see their reaction, and if people are excited about it, on that car they were, because it was the all new Navigators and much anticipated. I'm not very eloquent right now. There's nothing like it, and it never gets old.
That's amazing. Earl, for you to have such an amazing career journey, work on such well-known products and experiences, and to share your journey and your insights with us today has just been wonderful. I don't know, Randy, if you had any other questions.
No, I'm just amazed. That awesome stuff. That was beautiful. And I love the way you talk about it. I love your emphasis on story. Talk to my high school students all the time about why. What's the why? So
why are you doing it, right? Why are you doing it? Because the why is really it's purpose. It gives it meaning. And if you don't have a meaning and you don't have a purpose, then why even do it?
Right.
But sometimes it's hard for students, when they're young like that, to understand it. But as they mature and as they, they refine their skill sets, it'll make more sense.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Earl, thank you so much for being with us today. For Ask an Automotive Designer, hopefully the students who are watching this recording have found it as inspiring and informative as I have. I want to thank everybody who is a part of Art Connected that has allowed us to participate throughout the activities this week. And yes, please, if you are interested in more information about becoming a transportation designer, please go to collegeforcreativestudies.edu to learn more about our transportation design program. We put more transportation designers in the industry than any other school out there. This is what we are known for and what we do and do well. So thank you everyone who's tuned in. Thank you, Earl, for your wisdom, and I hope everyone has a beautiful evening.
We'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.